Hello guys, Karen Miller here. Today I wanted to talk about bread. I'm going to be making some bread today, specifically focaccia bread. I never had this bread growing up, although my mom made bread every Saturday. It was the ritual. Every Saturday she made loaves and loaves of bread that lasted the whole week. So I want to do the focaccia bread because it's very easy. It's a flat bread, and you could also use that bread to do like a Sicilian pizza. But it's a yeast bread. It has yeast in it, and I wanted to talk about that because some people have mentioned over the past few years since I started my channel, they've been talking about yeast and that it causes infection. And I wanted to address this idea that yeast bread specifically causes infection. Of course, if you have an overgrowth of yeast, you will have an yeast infection. Or if you have an overgrowth of bacteria, you're going to have a bacterial infection, and on and on. We have these things in our bodies: the fungi, the bacteria, the yeast. Yeast is something, if you have an overgrowth of yeast, it's because you have too much sugar. You're eating too much sugar because yeast love sugar. So you might want to consider that. Sometimes you can get a yeast infection from wearing tight clothing, the underwear. You know, we buy underwear and we don't think about the fabric, what it's made of, and all of these things could be causing infection. The tightness of the clothing and the fabric that the underwear is made out of. The other thing is, yeast is killed at 140 degrees. So if you put a bread or pizza or something to bake at 375, 350, 450, whatever the temperature, it's going to kill the yeast during baking. So the whole thing just does not make any sense. You see? So I'm gonna do this bread. I did do a bread. It was really, really good. I used the Perrier and the baking soda, and I think I mixed spelt with garbanzo bean flour, and it was pretty good. But you get tired of this. So yes, so the baking soda, you know, it's a leavening agent, and in order for the bread to have a certain texture and just be like bread, I had to use that. But I was criticized for using that because they said, oh, it's not alkaline, which, you know, this whole alkaline thing, I mean, I think people are using that word now and they don't even understand what it really means. But that's another story. But this, I felt, was a really good bread, as best as I can do, working within that those confines. And people were talking about doing breads with the bromide plus powder. I mean, I don't think this would taste good. I mean, how could you do bread with, I don't know, bromide plus powder, bladder wrack, sea moss, with that fishiness to it? I mean, it's crazy. So there's no reason to do that. So we're gonna start making bread. You need to start making breads. Have this as a ritual every Saturday, every Friday night. You start to make bread because it is so easy. It's only 3 ingredients. It's so easy. And you start doing this, you make it a ritual with your children. They're gonna learn something, and they're gonna remember you for this. They're gonna remember that you were with them in the kitchen and teaching them how to bake, and they're gonna remember this, and it's gonna be a good thing. Because a lot of the breads out there, even though they're organic and whatnot, they still have so many ingredients. So I have some bread here that I just wanted to, it has about 20 ingredients in this bread. It is organic and it's a spelt bread. It says no high fructose corn syrup, dairy free, of course it's dairy free. You know, it's so crazy. So it has organic spelt flour, water, organic whole spelt flour, organic cane sugar, organic sunflower and or organic safflower oil, sea salt, organic oat flour, organic distilled vinegar, organic potato flour, organic wheat flour, yeast, organic molasses, lactic acid, enzymes, and ascorbic acid. Now, and it says contains wheat. Well, of course it contains wheat because spelt is technically wheat. It's one of the older grains, but it is technically wheat. So this is about 20 ingredients, and when you do your own bread at home, it's about 3 ingredients. Don't include the water. It's 3 ingredients. It's flour, salt, and yeast. And then you could put some oil. Some people put oil. It's not necessary. But just basic bread is flour, yeast, salt. That's it. Look at how many ingredients here compared to these 3 ingredients. So you need to make bread. You need to learn how to do it. You need to do it on a regular basis. You're going to save money. It's very economical. And it is just something to bring the family together and something that would make you feel better, because you don't know where these things are made. You don't know how long it's been on the shelf. So we're gonna do this bread. The first bread I'm going to do for you is the focaccia bread, and then moving forward we're going to be doing some bread, some yeast bread, which is fine to eat. It's much tastier and you're gonna enjoy it. All right, so let's do some bread. So guys, let's make our bread, the focaccia bread, the Italian flat bread. So I have a cup of lukewarm water here, and I'm going to put a packet of yeast into this water with a little bit of agave so that the yeast could feed on this. Gonna stir this up, and this is going to proof in about 5-10 minutes. Now the water shouldn't be more than 105 degrees. It's between 90 and 110. If you go any higher than this, you're going to kill the yeast. This is why it doesn't make sense to say that, oh, I got an yeast infection from eating bread with yeast. It doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna let this sit, and then it's gonna start bubbling up, and then we're gonna come back and start making our bread. So it's been 10 minutes. You can see the foam on the top there, and you can see the separation. This is the water, this is the foam. If this doesn't happen in 5 or 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes, it means that you killed the yeast, that the water was too hot. So as you get used to doing that, you're going to figure it out. You wouldn't need a thermometer, but if you're doing this for the first time and you're not too sure, you need a thermometer to make sure that the temperature of the water is no more than 105 degrees. Okay, it's between 90 and 110. I think 105 degrees is fine, and you need to put a little bit of agave syrup in there, some kind of sugar, so that the yeast could feed on it. And this, these bubbles are the carbon dioxide. So guys, I have 4.5 cups of flour here and 2 teaspoons of salt. And the flour that I'm using here is white organic wheat flour, because I used to be able to find white spelt at Whole Foods in bulk, but I noticed since after Amazon took over Whole Foods that they don't have it anymore. I don't know why. You can get it on Amazon online, but it's really inconvenient most of the time. So spelt and wheat is technically the same thing. As long as it's organic, then I think it's fine to use this. We're gonna get the dough hook. This is for the dough. This part here, we're gonna put this in, put this down. We're gonna add our yeast mixture, stop this and dump this in there. So we have a cup of water here, and I'm going to add another cup. So let's see how this is coming along. Yeah, this is feeling good. So I'm gonna remove this. It's a bit sticky, that's fine. All you do is you put some flour in your hand and to handle the dough so it's not so sticky. So I'm gonna remove this. I have some flour. I'm gonna put it around the bowl and so I could remove this. So I removed the dough from the bowl and I'm going to put it here to proof for an hour. And I have some more olive oil. Focaccia bread, you gotta put a lot of olive oil. So I have some more olive oil in here, and you see immediately it's easier to handle because of the olive oil. So I'm gonna cover this and let this proof for an hour. It's supposed to come to the top here. It's gonna double in size. So guys, I have my dough here. See, it has risen like double, right? Double the size. And it's nice and soft. The olive oil is around here. So I have my sheet pan, and you do focaccia in a sheet pan. You're gonna add some more olive oil to your sheet pan, because remember, focaccia is just a lot of olive oil. So we have about half a cup of olive oil in the dough. We have more olive oil when we're putting it to rise. And now we added more olive oil to the pan. So you put your dough in your pan and you take your fingers and you start pushing it out like that. And it's gonna bounce back at you, but you keep pushing it out. And what you do is you can pick it up and turn it over on the other side, so it relaxes a little bit when you do that, when you turn it over, so you can push it some more. All right, so you push, you get your fingers in there. Those indentations, the holes that you make with your finger, is what gives the focaccia bread that traditional look. You see? So I have my dough pushed out here. I'm gonna stretch this a bit and let it come back here so it's all the way to the end. You see, I want it all the way to the end. So if you're pushing it and it's not moving, you pull it a little bit and then you push it back, you let it fall down, you see, and it's gonna be fine like this. This side here, you see, it's not all the way to the end here. So I'm gonna pull it and then it's gonna sit here nicely. This as well, it's not all the way to the end, so I'm gonna pull it and then let it fall, and then it sits here. You see, so we have our dimples all over here that we made with our fingers, and we're gonna let this rise again for 45 minutes. This is going to double in size again. You see, it's twice. It has to proof twice. And I know it's a bit time consuming, but it's you making your own bread, and it's only a few ingredients. You know what's in it. You don't want to buy bread with a million ingredients in the bread. You're making a Sicilian pizza. This is when, after it rises again, this is when you're going to put your tomato sauce and whatever you want to put on it. Because basically, focaccia bread is like Sicilian pizza. All right, so when I come back, this is going to double in size again, and then we're going to put the rosemary on it and stick it in the oven. So guys, this has been resting for an hour to proof a second time. It's doubled in size. And you see those dimples there. This is where I'm going to stick my rosemary. I made my veggie platter today, and I'm having this for dinner. It's delicious. So I'm gonna put this all over. Then I'm going to put the coarse salt. This is traditional focaccia. You put some coarse salt on top of this before you put it in the oven. So I'm gonna sprinkle the salt all over this. A coating of salt. This is why I don't put a lot of salt in the dough, because there's a lot of salt that you put here on the top. I know you cannot really see it, but there's quite a bit of salt on there. So I'm going to stick this in the oven 425 for about 35 minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So guys, I removed the bread from the oven. It's beautiful, beautiful brown color. I don't know if you can see could you see the salt pieces all over here? See? It's so pretty, smells really, really good. This is what you can do at home. Beautiful focaccia bread. So guys, I'm just gonna cut this in the pan, you know. This is really soft, tender bread. See what it looks like? Delicious. So, see? Really good. So, do this bread. It's only a few ingredients. You could make bread within a few hours, and you don't have to buy that stuff in the store that you don't know what it is, you know. Delicious. Gonna eat this with some marinara sauce. Of course, I didn't have this bread as a child growing up. It's an Italian flatbread. But my mom made bread. Every Saturday was bread making day. And I think it's a good habit, you and your family, to make bread. Homemade bread is not difficult at all. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And be well, be good, guys. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, I'm gonna saute my veggies. Gonna put 2 to 3 tablespoons grapeseed oil and 2 tablespoons of the vegan butter. Gonna add some leeks. Let that saute for a while, and then I'm going to continue adding the other ingredients. I'm going to add some celery. In the interest of time, I'm just going to dump everything. This is some red bell peppers that I chopped up very fine. My camera is losing battery power, so I want to do this quickly. So I'm going to add some sage, some thyme to this, and then after I toast the bread, the focaccia bread, I'm going to cut it up into squares. Then I'm going to mix all of this in, put some vegetable stock, and stick it into the oven. So I have some sage here. Gonna do some thyme. So when I come back, I'm going to finish this up. So I'm back, guys. I toasted the focaccia bread for 15 minutes. I cut it up into cubes and toasted it. So now I'm going to add some veggie stock to this here. My stove is back on. I added some chopped fresh parsley to this, and salt and pepper to taste. And you could add some coconut amino, things like that. So I'm going to add some veggie stock. I found this at Trader Joe's, this veggie stock. Then I'm going to add my bread and stick it in the oven. It's going to absorb the liquid. So I added some more veggie stock until all of the pieces was soaked through with stock, but it still hold its shape. It's still, because it's very toasty, so you can still see, but it's soft enough that I could turn it around and get all of the veggies in there. So I'm going to turn off the stove now. I have a buttered dish here that I'm going to put the bread, what you would call your dressing, and stick it in the oven just to get a little bit toasty on the top. That's all. Alright, so when this is done, I'll show you what it looks like.